Welcome to HFY Galactic Stories, original science fiction tales, where humans face impossible odds, and the galaxy pays the price for its ignorance. Listen carefully. This is where legends are born. The desperate call. The space between the stars felt really empty to Ambassador Thalen. He was standing in a room on the ship that was carrying people who had to leave their homes. This room had windows so he could look out into the darkness of space. The ship's old engines were making a rumbling noise that he could feel under his feet. He could also hear people talking quietly and being scared in the hallways behind him. Ambassador Thalen just kept looking out at the space in front of the ship. The refugee vessel was really crowded and noisy. Ambassador Thalen did not notice that much because he was thinking about the empty space. The Keltharian people had 18 ships left. That was it. These 18 ships had 200,000 people on them. They were all that was left of the people. The ships were moving across the space of the outer spiral. 2 months ago things were very different. The Keltharian people were a group with 12 billion people. They lived on 7 worlds in the Kelthara system. Now the Keltharian people were running away from danger. They were trying to escape on these 18 ships. The Keltharian people were hoping that the people who were chasing them would get lost in the darkness of space. Thalen put his 6-fingered hand on the window. He could feel the chill coming through. The special lights in his skin, which were usually a blue color on his gray skin, were very faint now. He was really stressed and tired. That was why the lights were not shining like they normally did. It was like what was happening to his people. They had lost hope, and it was all because of how bad things were. Thalen's bioluminescent markings were barely visible. That was a sign that he was not doing well, just like his people were not doing well either. The Zarvok Collective showed up out of nowhere. They had these war fleets that came from the deep void, and they hit every single Keltharian colony at the same time. This was not about taking over land or getting resources. It was about wiping out the Keltharians. The Zarvok Collective has a brutal way of thinking. If another species can challenge their power, they have to be destroyed before they become a problem. The Keltharians were in trouble because they had advanced biotechnology and their population was growing fast. The Zarvok Collective had decided that the Keltharians had to be eliminated. The Zarvok Collective saw the Keltharians as a threat to their power. They wanted to get rid of them. Thalen was not on his planet when the attack started. He was at a meeting with leaders in a safe area. He saw what was happening to his home on a video screen. It was very sad to watch. He could not do anything to stop it. The city where his family lived was attacked first. His wife and his 3 kids were killed. His whole family, 40 people, were all gone in just 1 hour. This made Thalen very sad. It still hurts him every day. He feels like he has a rock in his chest that will not go away. Every time he breathes, it feels like he is eating something like broken glass. The pain of losing his family, his wife, his children, and his whole family is always with him. A loud alarm blasted through Thalen's mind. The ship's emergency lights turned red. The warning system started blaring. Thalen turned around. Started running to the bridge. His long legs took strides down the corridors. There were a lot of people everywhere. Parents were holding their kids really tight. Old people were sitting on the floor, they were too tired to get up. The medical staff were running around trying to help people who were hurt or sick. They did not have a lot of supplies left. Thalen kept running to the bridge. He had to see what was going on with the ship. The ship's warning systems were still making a lot of noise. Red emergency lights were still flashing everywhere. The bridge was really crazy when he got there. The officers were all yelling at the time, and the screens on the consoles were blinking with important warnings. His main navigator, Saris, a woman, looked at him with a scared look on her face. Saris was clearly very upset. The bridge was still very chaotic. The officers were still shouting over each other. Ambassador, they have found the spaceship. The crew has detected hyperspace signatures. There are spaceships coming towards us. The ambassador should know that these spaceships are very large. Thalen walked over to the display and his heart felt really bad. 32 Zarvok warships had just come out of hyperspace behind the convoy. Each Zarvok warship was 3 times as big as the refugee ship they had. The Zarvok warships were full of weapons that could bomb a planet. The Zarvok made their ships like strong forts that could move. They put lots of layers of materials on the ships so they could take hits from really powerful antimatter weapons. The Zarvok warships were like nothing they had ever seen before. Thalen looked at the Zarvok warships on the display. Felt scared. The communication system started working again. A face showed up on the screen. This face belonged to Commander Krell of the Zarvok Collective. He had a face like a reptile. His face was twisted into something that looked like a smile. Commander Krell had led the chase himself. His yellow eyes looked happy in a way as he looked at Thalen. Commander Krell was clearly happy to have found Thalen. Ambassador Thalen, your flight is over. Did you really think you could get away from the collective's judgment? The collective looked at your species. Decided it was not good enough. The galaxy does not need civilizations that are not necessary. Ambassador Thalen, the collective has decided that your species is redundant. The galaxy will be better off without Ambassador Thalen and your species. Thalen made himself talk in a voice even though he was really angry inside. We do not want to hurt you. We are people who have lost our homes. We just want to be safe. If you let us go through, we will never come back to this place again. We just want to survive and be okay. We will leave this sector and never bother you again, I promise. We mean no harm to you, we are refugees who want to live. Krell's laugh was really harsh. It sounded like grinding. Your intentions do not matter. What matters is the potential that you have. Krell said that in 1,000 years the descendants of humans might challenge Krell, and that is a threat. This possibility is something that Krell cannot tolerate. If humans become extinct, then Krell will be secure. The screen went dark. The officers of Thalen around the bridge started to get really scared. Some of them said the convoy should break up and try to get, hoping that some of the ships might make it out. Others thought they should give up even though everyone knew that the Zarvok did not take prisoners. A few of the officers just stood there unable to move, knowing that these were the moments of the Zarvok attack and their lives were about to end because of the Zarvok. Thalen looked at the faces of his crew. These people had been through something tough. They saw their whole world get destroyed. They are still alive. The crew had seen the destruction of their civilization and they just kept going. They should not have to die being chased like animals in space. Thalen would not let the crew die without a fight. The crew deserved better than that. Thalen would do everything to make sure they do not disappear forever. He walked over to the communication console. Asked the officer to move. Then he started pressing buttons on the controls. He was trying to get to some frequencies. These are frequencies that you need a code to access. You are only supposed to use these codes when things are really bad. Ambassador, what are you doing, Saris? Her voice was shaking really badly. The ambassador was just standing there. Saris was looking at the ambassador. She wanted to know what the ambassador was doing. The Galactic Council said no to this a time ago, Thalen said. The Galactic Council made a rule about this 300 years ago. I'm getting in touch with Sector 12 now. The bridge was completely quiet. Every single officer knew what this silence meant. Sector 12 was a place that had one solar system, and this system was completely cut off from the rest of the galaxy. The third planet in this system was called Earth by the people who lived there. These people were called humans. They were also known as the Deathworlders. Thalen had looked at the files. Every ambassador had to know the reason why Sector 12 was off limits. The people who went on the trip to make contact had gone to Sector 12 thinking they would find simple people on a world that was not very good. What they found was really bad. The people on the contact mission to Sector 12 had discovered a terrible thing in Sector 12. The Earth is a planet that really should not be able to support life forms. The Earth's gravity is 50% higher than what you see in the galaxy. The air on the Earth has a lot of oxygen in it, which is very reactive, and that makes things break down quickly, and it also makes living things get old faster. The Earth is being bombarded with radiation all the time from the star that it orbits around. The ground on the Earth is not stable because the Earth's surface is always moving. The temperature on the Earth can be very cold or very hot. Diseases on the Earth are evolving quickly, which is pretty scary. There are predators in every ecosystem on the Earth. Life did not just survive, it actually did well. It kept going. Got better. Humanity was at the top of the food chain. The humans competed with the living things. They came up with ways to protect themselves and fight back. These ways were very good at helping them survive. Humanity was the strongest of all. Humans were really good at chasing their prey until it just gave up from being too tired. They could get hurt badly and still not die, which is not something that most other species in the galaxy can do. Humans would even drink things that are bad for them just because they like the way it feels. They would become friends with the animals and keep them as pets. The things that humans liked to celebrate were fighting, arguing, and trying to be better than each other. Humans had come close to destroying themselves many times with really scary weapons, but they always seemed to stop themselves at the last second. Humans were like this times, but they always managed to pull back and survive. The Galactic Council made a decision that everyone agreed on. The Galactic Council decided that humanity should never be allowed to move into the galaxy. The Galactic Council built a lot of automated defense stations around the sector. The Galactic Council said it was against the rules to visit Earth. The Galactic Council acted like the people from Earth who lived on a tough planet did not exist at all. The Galactic Council ignored humanity altogether. They still had one channel that was open. This was a frequency that people could use when they really needed to. It was a way for people to get in touch with Earth when something was very wrong. They had no other choice even if it meant that people from Earth might come to the stars and cause problems. Thalen sent out a distress call. He made sure to include all the details. The location of his people was in the message. He also said how many ships were in the Zarvok fleet. Thalen told them that his people were going to be wiped out. He did not say please help us. Thalen knew that humans like people who were strong. They did not like it when people begged. So he just told humanity the facts. He asked if they would help the Zarvok were attacking his people. Thalen asked if humanity would help his people. For 17 seconds nothing happened. Then the console made a beeping sound. A response from the computer had finally arrived at the console. The message was plain text, written in simple Galactic common. The grammar was not very good like it was translated by software. What the message said was easy to understand. We got your message. We are waiting. The thing we need is on its way. The asset will be here in 4 cycles. That is all they said. They did not give us a fleet designation, they did not tell us how ships there are, they did not give us any explanation. They just said 2 words that changed everything. Asset deploying. The words asset deploying are what changed everything. Saris asked what it means as he read over his shoulder. He wanted to know what they are sending with this message. What is the point of the information they are sending? Thalen shook his head slowly. I do not know what to make of this. The Deathworlders answered us. It is really something because they were quiet for 300 years. All of a sudden the Deathworlders responded to us. The Zarvok fleet was moving forward on the display. The Zarvok fleet had 32 warships. They were getting into position to attack. The Zarvok fleet was taking its time because the Zarvok fleet knew the refugees could not escape. Commander Krell was likely happy about this situation. Commander Krell was probably enjoying the fact that the refugees were scared. The refugees were going to be hurt by the Zarvok fleet and Commander Krell was going to give the order to attack the refugees. Something was different in Thalen's chest now. The feeling of being completely hopeless was not as strong as it was before. Somebody had heard Thalen's call for help. Somebody was actually sending help to Thalen. Thalen did not know what the people meant when they said, asset. Thalen was not sure if this asset would be enough to save Thalen from the group of enemies that were all around Thalen. For the time since everything fell apart around him, Ambassador Thalen felt hope. He thought he would never feel hope again. Now he does. Ambassador Thalen had been feeling really down since his world was destroyed. Now he has hope. He turned around to face the people who worked with him on the bridge. All of the ships need to stay where they are. Do not use much power. The ships will just wait. An officer said, what are we waiting for? Thalen looked back at the darkness of space. He was thinking that something might be moving through the void towards the spaceship. This something was from Earth. It was from a world that people have dreams about. Thalen thought about the things that could be coming from Earth and it was a pretty scary idea. We are waiting to see what happens when humanity answers a distress call from someone who needs help. Humanity is going to answer a distress call. We have to wait and see what happens next. This distress call is very important. Humanity is going to do something about it. The first cycle went by in silence. The Zarvok fleet just stayed where it was, not doing anything. The Zarvok fleet was in no rush to finish off the Keltharians. The Zarvok fleet wanted the Keltharians to feel really scared to know they could not do anything to save themselves before the Zarvok fleet did what they were going to do. Thalen would not sleep. He was standing on the bridge watching the sensors and waiting for something to happen. The crew of the ship took turns resting. Thalen stayed awake, his eyes fixed on the displays that showed the empty space between the convoy and the threat that was getting closer to the convoy. Thalen was waiting for the convoy to be safe. The threat was still approaching the convoy. On the try, one of the refugee ships decided to make a break for it. The people on the ship got really scared. Messed up the plan trying to get away to the nearby nebula. The Zarvok let them think they could get away for a little while. Then one of the warships went after them. The refugee ship did not last long, only 43 seconds before it was completely destroyed and turned into a big cloud of gas and junk. There were 17 ships left now. The refugee ships still had 194,000 people on them who survived. Commander Krell sent a message after that. His face, which was like a reptile, showed that he was happy with himself. He said, "This is what happens when you have hope, Ambassador." Commander Krell wants the Ambassador to know that every hour the Ambassador waits, another one of the Ambassador's ships will be destroyed. Commander Krell told the Ambassador to give up and Commander Krell will make the end fast for the rest of the Ambassador's people. Thalen did not say anything. He just closed the channel. Kept on waiting for something to happen with the channel that Thalen closed. Something big happened on the cycle, everything was different after that. The third cycle was like a turning point. It changed everything. The sensor officer said something. It was really loud on the quiet bridge. I found something. There is an object that we do not know about. The object is coming towards us really fast. Thalen walked over to the display and said, "Where did it come from?" "Sector 12 is where this thing started, Ambassador. This thing actually came from our planet, Earth." Every officer on the bridge stopped what they were doing. Turned toward the display. On the screen a single blip. It was moving really fast, faster than the starship officers thought was possible. The sensor readings just did not make any sense all. The spaceship that was approaching the starship had accelerated to speeds that would basically melt any living crew on the spaceship. "What is the size?" Thalen asked loudly. "Small, Ambassador. Approximately 15 meters in length. Cylindrical configuration. No energy signatures matching known propulsion systems. 15 meters is really small." Thalen felt his hopes start to fade. "We are talking about 32 Zarvok warships here. Humanity is fighting back with something that is only as big as a small shuttle. This just does not seem like a plan. Maybe it is a probe that they send out to see what is going on rather than to actually fight the Zarvok warships." As the object got closer and the sensors got a look, Thalen saw something that made the bioluminescent markings on his body flicker. This really made Thalen unsure of what to think. The bioluminescent markings were usually a sign of how Thalen was feeling, so when they started to flicker like that, it was a big deal. Thalen was not sure what the object was or what it wanted. That made him feel really uncertain. The bioluminescent markings on his body just kept on flickering. The object was not slowing down. It just kept going and going. The object did not show any signs of slowing down all. The object was still moving fast. It was aimed directly at the center of the Zarvok fleet like a spear thrown by an angry god. And it was still accelerating. Humanity's answer. The object went into the combat zone fast. It did not slow down all. It just stopped all of a sudden. The object went from moving fast to not moving at all in a split second. This should have broken the object into pieces because of its speed. It just stayed there floating in space right between the Keltharian convoy and the Zarvok fleet. The object did not move, it just stayed still between the convoy and the Zarvok fleet, which was a very strange thing to see. Thalen looked at the screen that showed him what was going on. The thing he saw was a cylinder shape. It was 15 meters long and 3 meters around. The outside of the object was a black color. It did not shine or reflect any light. There were no windows on the object, no guns, no engines, and no signs that said what it was. The object did not look like a spaceship. It looked like something people used to do a job, like a machine. Thalen thought about the object and what it could be used for. The cylindrical shape and black color made it look very simple, like it was made to do one thing. The object was very plain. It did not have any features. It just looked like a piece of equipment, something that people use every day. The Zarvok fleet was doing something across the space. The Zarvok ships were changing the way they were lined up. The Zarvok weapon systems were turning on. 32 Zarvok warships were looking at the cylinder with their sensors. This small cylinder had just shown up out of nowhere. Thalen thought about what Commander Krell was doing on his bridge. Commander Krell was probably trying to figure out what this small cylinder was. The Zarvok fleet was trying to decide if the small cylinder was really a danger to the Zarvok fleet. The communication thing on Thalen's bridge started working. Thalen got a message from the cylinder. He could only hear a voice, there was no picture. Thalen turned it on with hands that were shaking a lot. The voice that came out was a woman's voice. It sounded like she was pretty young. It is hard to tell how old someone is just by the way they sound. She spoke in common and said each word very clearly, but there was something else going on underneath the words. The Galactic common sounded cold and of robotic, like the woman was just reading from a script and did not really care about what she was saying. The voice was a woman's voice. It sounded like the woman was not really feeling anything when she spoke in Galactic common. "Convoy, this is Valkyrie 7. We got your distress signal. We know what is going on with you. The Keltharian convoy is now protected by the Terran defense. Just stay where the Keltharian convoy is now. Do not try to run or fight the bad guys. We will take care of the convoy and fix the situation soon." The channel closed before Thalen could respond. Thalen just stood there trying to make sense of what he had heard. They were talking about defensive protocols. This sounded like something official because of the way they said it. It sounded like the military was really involved. This was not some group doing what they wanted. Earth had sent this. The government of the people had sent this to keep them safe. They had sent this to protect the people. One little ship is going up against 32 Zarvok warships. The numbers just do not add up. I mean, even if this ship has powerful weapons that we have never seen before, the Zarvok fleet is just too big and too strong. They will probably wear this ship down. Maybe the humans have sent ships and this one is just the first to get here. The Zarvok warships are a lot to handle for one ship. Thalen checked his sensors again. There was nothing there. He only saw the one cylinder just hanging in space. It looked like a reminder of how arrogant or stupid humanity can be. The cylinder was still just floating there alone. On the Zarvok flagship, Commander Krell got a message meant for him. A calm female voice came on. Started talking directly to his ship. She did not seem to care about the security protocols and encryption systems that were in place. It was like they were not there. The Zarvok flagship was basically wide open to her. Zarvok vessels, you have been a threat to living things that humanity is supposed to keep safe. You have done some bad things to these living things without any reason. You have killed a lot of them. Zarvok vessels, you need to get all of your forces out of this area now and stop being hostile. Zarvok vessels, you have 4 minutes to do this. This is the time we are going to tell you to do this. If you do not listen, Zarvok vessels, there will not be another warning. Krell leaned forward in his command throne. His yellow eyes got smaller as he looked at the feed. Tell me who you are, he said. What is your name? What fleet are you with? What fleet do you represent? I am Valkyrie 7. This is me responding to a call for help. I am what people send when someone needs assistance and there is no one to turn to. I am the result of the things that you have done. I am Valkyrie 7 and I am here because of what you did. Krell said to me, you have a small ship. He did not sound very nice. I am in charge of 32 warships, he said. Each of these warships has a lot of guns and bombs. They can destroy a planet. Your small ship does not have guns to hurt any of my warships. I do not think you can really believe that you can fight against the Zarvok Collective. The Zarvok Collective is very powerful. You and your small ship are no match for the Zarvok Collective. There was a pause before the human voice spoke up. When the human voice finally responded, Krell noticed that the tone was different. The human voice still sounded very precise. Krell could sense something else underneath that made the scales on his body stand up. This made Krell feel really uneasy, like something was not quite right with the voice. Krell detected this feeling and it made his scales prickle all over. You do not understand what is going on, Commander. I did not come here to fight against you. I came here to stop the Commander. My goal is to end the Commander. The channel closed. Krell sat in silence for 3 seconds thinking about the threat that the human vessel made against the Collective. The people around him on the bridge were waiting to see what he would do next. Some of them looked really nervous. Others looked mad because one human vessel was daring to challenge the Collective. Krell and his bridge crew were surprised by this. The Collective is a powerful thing and it is not often that someone challenges it like this human vessel did. Commander, his weapons officer said slowly, do you think the Commander should call off the mission and get out of here? The question made Krell feel something in his chest. Should he pull back? Run away from one ship sent by a group of primitives who were not even allowed to leave their own planet? That idea was a slap in the face to everything the Zarvok Collective stood for. The Zarvok Collective was the military force in this part of space. The Zarvok Collective had already destroyed 17 groups of people. The Zarvok Collective did not run from people who threatened them. The Zarvok Collective destroyed them completely. Krell said, all ships, I want you to target the vessel. Use all your weapons and fire when you are ready to do. He wanted the human vessel to be destroyed, so he gave this order to all the ships. The order was given through the communication system that all the ships in the fleet use. Krell said, fire at the vessel now, and all the ships started firing at the human vessel. The human vessel was being targeted by all the ships in the fleet. The Zarvok fleet started shooting at us with all of the Zarvok fleet's guns. The Zarvok fleet had a lot of guns and the Zarvok fleet was using all of them to shoot at us. Space just caught fire. 32 warships started shooting all at once. These super hot beams of plasma were so hot they could turn steel into air. They made bright lines in the empty space. The warships also sent projectiles that were as big as cars, flying really fast, so fast they could go right through a planet. The missiles with antimatter in them were moving fast. They were messing up space around them as they went to hit their target. The point defense lasers made a net of light all around. The electromagnetic pulse weapons went off. Tried to destroy all the electronics on the target ship. Space itself seemed to ignite as the warships kept shooting. The plasma beams and kinetic projectiles and antimatter missiles all worked together to try and destroy the target. The black cylinder went behind a wall of destruction that was strong enough to break a small moon into pieces. The energy readings went up high, so high that our sensors could not even measure them. The Zarvok ships kept firing for 20 seconds. Each Zarvok ship used a lot of their bullets. When the Zarvok ships finally stopped firing, there was a cloud of hot plasma and radiation where the human vessel used to be, and it was glowing so bright that it hurt my eyes to look at it. The Zarvok ships had really done a lot of damage to the vessel. On the lead ship, Thalen watched in horror. The firepower was really big. It was huge. It was like what you see when they bomb a planet. Nothing can live through that. The humans sent some help. The bad guys destroyed it before it could do anything. Now the Keltharian lead ship was alone again. The Zarvok were going to be even angrier with the Keltharian lead ship. The Zarvok were already mad. This was going to make them even madder with the Keltharian lead ship and Thalen. The man asked in a voice, "Can the sensors find any pieces of the ship that are floating around?" The sensor officer worked on her console trying to adjust the filters so she could see through all the interference. "Ambassador, I am having a lot of trouble getting readings because of all this radiation." "Wait a minute. Something is making the plasma clear up. The energy cloud is going away faster than it should be." The sensor officer looked at the ambassador. Said that the energy cloud is dissipating really fast. The sensor officer was still trying to get readings from the sensor. On the display, the glowing cloud started to disappear. The magnetic fields that should have stayed for hours were falling apart in seconds. The radiation was being soaked up by something like water going down a drain. As the interference got out of the way, the sensors began to show what was at the center of the area that was hit by the blast. The radiation was being pulled away. The sensors were getting a better look at the blast zone and what was in the middle of it. The blast zone was becoming clearer. The center of it was coming into view. The black cylinder was still there. The thing was still floating in space in the place it was before. Looked the same. The Zarvok had shot at it. Hit it with lots of plasma and kinetic stuff, but it did not hurt it at all. There were no holes in it. No burn marks from the plasma. No dents from the things that hit it. It just sat there like the Zarvok had just thrown water at it. The Zarvok had tried hard to destroy it, but it was like the Zarvok was just throwing rain at a rock. The thing was fine. The Zarvok had not hurt the thing. Thalen felt his bioluminescent markings light up bright blue for the first time in weeks. This was a deal. His bridge crew was staring at the display. Nobody was saying a word. They were all shocked. What was that ship made of anyway? The technology on that thing was crazy. How could it handle much power and not get destroyed? Thalen looked at his bridge crew. Then back at the display, still trying to figure out what they were seeing. The bioluminescent markings on his body were still shining blue. On the Zarvok flagship, Commander Krell got up from his throne. His face changed a lot. At first he looked sure of himself, then he looked confused. Finally he looked really scared. He said, "How is this possible? It just cannot be." The Zarvok flagship fired much at the target. The Zarvok flagship hit the target with an amount of fire. Nothing can live through that. Nothing can survive the fire from the Zarvok flagship. The weapons officer checked the sensor data again and again. "Commander, all the weapons hit what they were supposed to. Every single system worked perfectly. The other ship does not have any damage. It is like the weapons did not do anything to the vessel. The vessel just kept going like our weapons did not even touch it." The weapons officer was really confused because the weapons should have done something to the vessel. The commander was waiting for an answer about what was going on with the vessel. The vessel was still there and the weapons had no effect on the vessel. "Then fire again." Krell shouted loudly. "We need to double the number of shots we are firing. That thing is not completely safe from our attacks. The fact is that nothing is completely safe from being hurt or damaged." Before the Zarvok could launch another attack, something unexpected happened. The black cylinder started to move. The Zarvok warship did not move like a ship. It just went from one place to another in a flash. The Zarvok warship was in one spot. Then it was in another spot, like it did not travel through the space in between. In a short time, less than 1 second, the Zarvok warship was right in front of the nearest Zarvok warship. The Zarvok warship was very close, about 100 meters, from the big armored front of the other Zarvok warship. The human voice came back on. It was sent out on all frequencies so that every single ship out there could hear the human voice. "We gave a warning. The warning was ignored. Now we are taking action to protect ourselves. The defensive action is starting now because the warning was not taken seriously by the people who got the warning." The cylinder changed. It looked like the surface was made of metal and it started to move. The cylinder was not a simple shape, it was the cylinder, and it was a lot more complicated than that. The cylinder had panels that slid open. Inside the cylinder there were mechanisms that came out of places. In 3 seconds the cylinder was not a ship anymore, it was the cylinder, and it looked like a big flower, with sharp blades and weird angles. The cylinder was really strange now. The thing went off. It made a noise when it fired. The sound of it firing was really loud. What came out of the weapon was not a beam or something that was shot out. It was something that Thalen had never seen before. This thing was so strange that it made Thalen question what his eyes were seeing with all his science knowledge. A ball of distorted spacetime came out of the center of the changed vessel. It got bigger and bigger, making a bubble shape. When this bubble touched the Zarvok warship, everything that it touched just disappeared. The Zarvok warship and the human weapon were still there. The human weapon's power was really something. The Zarvok warship was being destroyed by the weapon. The thing that happened was really precise and complete. The bubble went through the warship's armor like it was made of air, making a perfect round hole through 300 meters of super strong armor, the inside parts and everything else inside. The systems, the weapons, the people on the ship, all of them were gone. The bubble removed them from existence cleanly, that the edges of the hole were extremely hot because the tiny bonds that hold things together were broken. The warship's armor, the structure and everything inside the warship were all gone. The Zarvok warship just floated there in space for 2 seconds. It was really badly. Could not be fixed. Then it started to fall from the inside out. It was like a big implosion. The air inside the ship was. The walls were failing. This caused smaller explosions to happen over the ship as the power systems got too much to handle and the extra ammunition on board started to blow up. In then 10 seconds the Zarvok warship was gone. It was just a big cloud of debris moving outward. The Zarvok warship had taken 15 years to build. It was destroyed so quickly. The black cylinder moved again. It showed up next to another Zarvok warship. There was this sphere of space that was all distorted. It made a hole right through the armor and the structure of the ship. The Zarvok warship was dying in a few seconds. Something bad happened to the Zarvok fleet. The ships started moving over the place trying to get away or put some space between them. Some of the Zarvok ships shot at the ship, but their shots did not hit anything because the human ship was moving too fast. The human ship was gone before the Zarvok ships could even aim properly. Other Zarvok ships tried to make a jump to hyperspace, but they could not do it. The human ship was sending out some kind of signal that was stopping the Zarvok ships from going to hyperspace. The Zarvok fleet was in a state of panic. The human ship was doing something to the Zarvok ships. They did not know what it was. Thalen watched in awe and horror as the single human vessel tore the Zarvok fleet apart. The human vessel moved through the Zarvok fleet like a predator, among prey, striking down each warship with efficiency. The human vessel did not hesitate, it did not show mercy, it did not give any warning. The human vessel just kept destroying the Zarvok fleet with precision, doing exactly what the human vessel was designed to do. The human vessel was a machine that destroyed the Zarvok fleet one warship at a time. Commander Krell's flagship tried to get its engines going as fast as they could. The black cylinder showed up in front of Commander Krell's flagship. This time the human voice spoke again instead of shooting at Commander Krell's flagship. Commander Krell, you need to get out of the ship now. You only have 30 seconds before it is too late. If the crew of the ship wants to stay alive, they should leave the ship immediately. The ship is not safe and the crew of the ship should evacuate. Krell looked at the communication panel. He could not believe what was going on. The fleet of Krell was being destroyed. The ships of Krell were dying. Now this human weapon was telling Krell that he should give up? Krell was finding it hard to understand why the human weapon was giving him this option. The human weapon was very powerful. It was destroying the fleet of Krell. The ships of Krell were no match for the weapon. He said, why are they doing this for us? He wanted to know why they were giving the people a chance to get away. Why were they being so nice? Letting them escape? The human voice said, you were beaten. This was the time Thalen heard the voice sound like it was feeling something. It was not angry or hateful, it was something. The voice sounded disappointed. You wanted to hurt a lot of people because you were scared of being beaten, the human voice said. You went after people who were running away because you did not want to share. You started shooting when you could have stopped. You needed to lose badly, but you do not have to die. The humans are not like the humans who do things. We are not like you, Thalen, the humans are not like you. 23 seconds later the escape pods started coming out of the Zarvok flagship. The crew left their jobs. Ran away into space in small vessels that were only meant to keep them alive for a little while. When the last pod got away from the ship, the black cylinder hit it. The Zarvok flagship died like all the other ships. It was cut apart by weapons that did not follow the rules of physics as Thalen knew them. The Zarvok flagship was destroyed by these weapons. The Zarvok warships were really beat up when it was over. 32 Zarvok warships were completely destroyed. There were thousands of escape pods floating around in the mess and the people inside them were okay. They were totally defeated. The whole thing with the Zarvok warships only lasted 9 minutes. The black cylinder went back to its place between the convoy and the destroyed fleet. The black cylinder changed its surface back to how it was. This hid the strange machines inside the black cylinder that had just changed everything about the fight. Now the black cylinder looked simple again. It was a black cylinder, 15 meters of basic shape, doing nothing in space. The black cylinder just floated there. The human voice made a connection to Thalen's ship. The Keltharian convoy is safe for now. The bad people who were a threat to the convoy have been stopped. The Keltharian convoy can look at sensors that see far away and they do not see any other bad people coming to hurt the Keltharian convoy. The Keltharian convoy can keep going to where they're going. It is an idea for the Keltharian convoy to stay away from the space that is controlled by Zarvok for a long time. Thalen finally spoke up. His voice was shaky. He was really emotional. Thank you much, he said. You saved Thalen and his friends. Thalen and his friends owe you because you saved their lives. Thalen and his friends do not know how they can pay you back for this. The woman stopped talking for a moment. Then she spoke again. This time her voice was not so harsh. It sounded like a real person talking. The human sounded more natural when she spoke. There is no debt, Ambassador. You asked for our help. We gave it to you. That is what people do for each other when they care. The Galactic Council did not help you when you needed them. They just stood by. Watched as your people suffered. We are not going to be like the Galactic Council. We will help the Galactic Council's people when they need it. We will not be like them because they did not help you. The Galactic Council failed you. We will not fail you like the Galactic Council did. Will you get in touch with us now? Thalen asked. The Council put your world in quarantine. They said we could not talk to you. You people have shown that you are different. The Council quarantined your world. They did this for a reason. Now that you have proven yourselves, the Council will probably change their mind about your world. Surely the Council will make contact with your world now that they know more about you and your world. The voice spoke up softly. Said, we know what the Council thinks of us. They are afraid of us. Maybe they have a reason to be afraid. Our world is the reason we're the way we are. Being afraid and being smart are two different things. The time someone asks for help, humanity will hear them. If the Council does not do anything, the people like us will. What do I tell my people about you? What do I say about Earth? I mean, what can I say about Earth to my people? The voice sounded like it was laughing. Tell them the truth, Ambassador. Tell them that when nobody else was willing to help, the Deathworlders stepped in. Tell them that scary creatures can be friends if you treat them right. Tell them that the Deathworlders are watching now. The Deathworlders know that the galaxy is not as empty as the Council says it is. The Deathworlders are aware that there is more to the galaxy than what the Council claims. The channel closed. The black cylinder just sat there for a second. Then it disappeared. The black cylinder went from being to moving really fast in an instant. One moment the black cylinder was there. The next moment the black cylinder was gone. The black cylinder was heading back to the quarantine zone in the bad place that had made the cylinder. Thalen stood at his observation window. Looked out at the debris field that was once the Zarvok fleet. The Zarvok fleet was completely destroyed. His people were safe now. They had made it through a tough time. The odds were against them. It seemed like everything was stacked up against them. They survived the Zarvok fleet. One species had heard the cry of Thalen's people. They decided to help them. They chose to be kind and show mercy of being afraid of the Zarvok fleet. Mercy was more important to them than fear of the Zarvok fleet. He thought about Earth, that bad place with gravity that is too strong and air that is bad for you. He thought about the people who lived on Earth, the humans, and how they got to be the way there because of that tough world. The Earth made the humans strong and able to make things like Valkyrie 7, which is a very powerful weapon. He thought about what it means that the humans, who are capable of making something like Valkyrie 7, decided to care about others of not caring at all about the Earth and the humans. Behind Thalen, the crew of Thalen started to cheer. People, with faces that glowed in the dark, cried tears of relief. Everyone was hugging each other, celebrating that they made it through when it seemed like they were going to die for sure. But Thalen just stood there. Thalen was really quiet. Thalen's mind was thinking about what this all meant for Thalen. The Galactic Council made a mistake. They looked at humanity. Only saw the bad things, like how violent and dangerous humans can be. They built a quarantine around humanity. Thought that would fix everything. They missed something very important. They missed the fact that humanity's just as good at protecting people as they are at hurting them. The same humans who can build scary weapons will also use those weapons to help people they do not even know if those people ask for help. The Galactic Council did not understand that about humanity. Humanity has a lot of capacity for violence. Humanity also has a lot of capacity for protection. Saris went up to him. Her body was glowing with a lot of different feelings. Ambassador, what is going to happen? The Council will find out about this. They will know that humanity broke the quarantine rules that were in place for Saris and the Council, and humanity and the quarantine. Thalen nodded slowly. Tell them this. Make them see that their wall did not keep Earth trapped. It just made things happen a little later. The people of Earth are going to explore the stars no matter what the Council wants. When the people of Earth get to the stars, the galaxy will have to choose if it wants the people of Earth as friends or if it wants the people of Earth as enemies. The people of Earth are coming to the stars. The galaxy will have to deal with the people of Earth. The people of Earth will not be. The galaxy will have to decide what it wants to do about the people of Earth. He looked back at the space where Valkyrie 7 had been. The Valkyrie 7 was really gone now. That black cylinder was on its way to Earth. The mission of the Valkyrie 7 was complete. People were working hard to build things like the Valkyrie 7. They were getting ready for the day when the quarantine would finally be over. Humanity was preparing for that day. The Valkyrie 7 was the beginning. The Keltharian convoy is going to the zones. They are heading to refugee settlements where the Keltharian people can start to rebuild their lives. This is a job and it will take a long time. Thalen thinks that something is different now. He feels it in the galaxy tonight. There is a power out there. The Keltharian convoy and other people like them have to deal with this power. A new player is now in the game. This will change things for the Keltharian people and the whole galaxy. The people from the Deathworlds had shown that sometimes when you call out into the space, the Deathworlders had found that something will actually respond to you, and the Deathworlders had learned that this can be a really scary thing. Not with words of sympathy or empty promises, but with weapons and action and the simple declaration that innocent lives matter, even to monsters from a nightmare world. Especially to monsters from a nightmare world. People have known for a long time that the universe is not a nice place. The universe is tough. To survive in the universe you need to be strong. Showing mercy to others is not a thing, it is actually a sign that the universe is being kind to you. You have the power to be kind to others. The universe and its power make mercy a good thing. These people learned a lot on Earth. They figured things out the way because that is how life works on our planet. Now they are showing the rest of the galaxy what they know. The galaxy is learning from the people who learned on Earth. The age of Deathworlders had begun.